Welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. I'm here with my main man, Willy, my co-host, producer, and then we also got a very special guest on today, fellow Eagles fan, fellow Eagles analyst. He's ready to dig in with us on these Madden Ratings, these running backs. Darius, my good friend and good Eagles fan. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, the man, the myth, the legend, Scotty. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor. We've been talking about doing it for a while. I was kind of trying to wait till the closer when the season's about to start, but I think we're getting to that point now. I can feel it in the air. Football's coming. The players want to play.
Yeah,
They're tweeting about it. They want to play.
Yeah, man. I saw a bunch of tweets from our guys today, man. All around the league too, not just the Eagles, but yeah, it's exciting. They released the schedule for everybody to head back to training camp. I know we got Rieger flying in today from Dallas. Don't know what he was doing in Dallas, but flying in today.
That's awesome.
Flying in today, to sign his rookie contract, so that's exciting. But once again, welcome to the show, Darius.
Thank you, man. They're definitely going to quarantine Rieger after coming from Dallas regardless. But we're looking forward to getting him signed and getting him under contract and working out and get him with Wentz, the Godfather.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I'm gonna give a quick overview of what we're gonna go over today. We're gonna dig in, to some Redskins talk. Obviously, we all know the news with them and their scandal. And then we're also just going to talk about a few team name ideas. We can go on forever with some shitty team names for the Redskins, because they just are starting to look more and more like a shitty organization, not just on the field, but off the field as well. We're going to dig into some of these Madden ratings. It's been a craze over the last week or two with all these ratings coming out. They're kind of ridiculous, some of them, and then some of them are spot on, It's really weird. I don't know why they can't just be consistent. I know there's a Cowboys fan that makes the ratings, so that might explain a lot of it. Then me and Darius are going to dive into our top 10 running backs going into next season. I'm pretty excited about that because there's a lot of different options there, man. There's a lot of really good backs in the league to choose from. And we'll finish it out, with a quick segment on the NBA. We know that's starting very soon. Within, the next 2 weeks, they're going to be at camp and, working out together. And we're just going to talk about, some teams that have the most to prove, some players that have the most to prove in the playoffs, as well as, some surprise teams to watch out for. So, yeah, let's dig right in, man.
Yeah, man. All right. Yeah, I like that. We should probably get started.
I'm enjoying this nice Truly, seltzer.
One day we'll have all the sponsors, my friends.
Yeah, man. We love to have a few beers in an episode,
Keep
it fun, loose.
Yes, sir.
But so the Redskins thing, man. Kind of just want to go over kind of what was said, what came out in the Washington Post article, and just kind of get you guys' opinions on that stuff. So yeah, so over I guess that was Friday or Saturday, it came out on Washington Post. Over 15 girls accusing, different parts of the Redskins organization for sexual assault, discrimination, all types of stuff, sexual misconduct, all types of stuff. And it's really crazy, because them being such a shitty organization on the field, and then to have this type of stuff in the background after you're already having to change your racist name of your team. So it's they're getting hit from everywhere right now. They're talking about, Jay Gruden having these sex parties, sleeping with the same girls as the players are and benching players because of it. And it's just all kind of, not only childish, but just weird, It's,
for sure.
It's a lot of immaturity in the organization, from the owner down. And I know Dan Snyder's trying to act like he didn't know anything about this, but you can't tell me that one of these girls didn't go to top management and try to, get some help. But I also read, 14 of the 15 girls had to sign a non-disclosure agreement with the Redskins. So it's like if they said anything that went on in the organization, then they could get taken to the court. They can, you know what I mean? They could lose their job, everything. So they were kind of, in between a rock and a hard place in that situation. So I kind of just wanted to see how you guys feel about that. Obviously, I think it's very dirty, scandalous, but not unexpected from Dan Snyder, man. He's been a real shitty owner since he came to the Redskins in '99.
Look, Washington right now is a shit show. They have so much going on from so many different angles. I feel like they already got a brand new coach in there. If they need to figure out who was involved, they need to go through the legal process, they need to go through the progressions. Clean slate. Whatever needs to be done, you get them out of that organization. If you want to have a reputable organization, they've won championships. They're a known organization. They've been shit for a while now, but let's be honest. They're a very reputable organization. They have a lot of fan base. They need to get their shit together. They need to figure it out. They need to get the wrong people out of there. They need to get the right people in there. They have a future. They got some young talent. They need to get this on the back burner. Maybe they can use the name change as a way to kind of cover it up a little bit.
In the past.
Kind of like the Cam Newton signing with New England, and that overshadowing the fact that they had some more scandals going on, and they need to definitely do what's right for their fans, for their organization, and if they want to have success in this league, and they need to make the appropriate changes, I think.
Yeah, they're definitely cursed, and they're paying the price for that name, dude. Straight up.
And that's like you said, they're like a very historic franchise, well renowned. They have some of the most loyal fans. I have friends that are fans of the Redskins, and they stuck by them through these tough times. And Eagles fans can relate. Like look how long we went without a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's not like we were at the cream of the crop, although we've been pretty good the last 20 years. But like they have loyal fans. They have a good city in Washington D.C. and they do. They got to get it together. The only thing that worries me is that if Dan Snyder is still the owner, how can they move forward with him still as the owner if he did know all that stuff? And it's like, I guess we can like sweep it under the rug. Just got a few quotes. He did like an interview with Fox News here, and he said a few things like, the behavior described in yesterday's Washington Post article has no place in our franchise or society. This story has strengthened my commitment to setting a new culture and standard for our team, a process that will begin with the hiring of Coach Ron Rivera earlier this year. We're trying to create a new culture here. We're hoping to get people to understand that they need to judge us on where we are and where we're going, as opposed to where we've been. And see, with those quotes, that kind of makes me look at him again in the wrong way, because I get it, you do want to move on from the scandal, but you can't just throw it under the rug and act like it, pay attention to what we're doing on the field. Like, no, ask the 15 women how they feel, and there's probably more women than that, you know what I mean? And to just expect them to just move on with their lives after they finally got the courage to come out about it, it's just unrealistic, you know what I mean? Look at them for the future. I mean, sure, man, you know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah. You're going to get a new team name, and you think we'll forget about it, but it's going to haunt Dan Snyder. It's always going to be remembered with him, whether it's not on the Redskins or not, the Washington team or not.
I'll tell you what, that doesn't sound like somebody who is looking to get to the bottom of it and to really dig deep and find out who the bad eggs in his organization is. That sounds like somebody who may be guilty, who may be covering up, who may wants it to get moved on to the future and to focus on the other things for his own sake, maybe even. Who knows? Maybe he had no clue. But let's be real, it needs to be taken seriously, and the same with the name change. One of the things we're talking about is what names that we might think the Redskins could change to. I think they need to go to Native Americans, talk to them, and honor whatever they want them to change it to. Doesn't matter what they want them to change it to. Those are the people whose opinion matters right now. Start honoring the people who have dealt with the pain, and quit trying to just take the people's attention away from the wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. And that's actually a really good point about, forget what we think the names should be. We're not the ones that have been discriminated against by the name of the team. It is the Native Americans, the Indians, the people that are getting basically made fun of by a slogan of the Redskins, and it's just crazy how it, like what sparked it this year? You know what I mean? What because it's been around. It's been this thing for a while now. And you guys know Ivory. He's like a big Redskins fan, friend of ours. Excuse me. He recently like told me, you know, if they don't change the name, I'm switching teams. Like I'm switching to the Raiders. And like honestly, that's good for him. You know, I know he's a loyal fan. You know, and it's hard to say what I would do in that situation because obviously I'm an Eagles fan and there's nothing like that is involved necessarily. But yeah, I agree though. You know, go to the Native Americans and see, you know, spend time with them. The same things that we're asking Deshaun Jackson to do, the people of the Redskins organization should be, you know, responsible and held accountable to do that same type of stuff.
So true.
Learn about why you're discriminating
so
against them.
Bingo, man. That was right on the money.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to hold one person accountable, hold everybody accountable. Hold yourselves to the same standards that you're holding the players to. A lot needs to change. There's a lot that needs to change, and we all know that. But it's about who's going to stand up and make the change and make a difference. You look at coaches like Steve Kerr. You know, he's not afraid to say something. And maybe it's because he used to be a player. You know, maybe he has something that just makes him built different. But there are certain times where, as a coach, as an owner, as a general manager, as a player, you have to take those stands and make a difference.
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, it's just good points all around. I guess we can, you know, move on to the next section. We're going to talk about some team names. We thought, you know, obviously we have like jokes and stuff. Like I put out a recent meme, you know, of the. What, you got something to say, Will?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Funny enough that you say that because, you know, I wanted to make some jokes about like bad jokes. It's funny enough because you know how us living in Maryland, so Redskins based. So many people have come up to me and said the Red Tails is gonna most likely be that name, and then you look up the history of Red Tails. You know the black gentleman that was on the airplane and all that. And I was gonna say that's most likely what I keep hearing from all these people. I'm not sure, but I just thought that was an insight because like I don't know why they think that, but
I don't know. Like I mean, I guess that would be an alright name.
Washington
I mean, it just sounds a
Dirtbags.
little suspect itself. You know what I mean?
Classic,
like, I
bro.
don't know.
I mean, Washington Broncos.
It's like, do you want to go back down that route, you know, with the red and everything?
Washington left cheeks, everything for what they're doing, man.
Yeah, I recently put out that meme, you know, with the big bag of dirt that's like on fire. You know, calling them the Washington Dirtbags, you know, right around when all this stuff came out. And I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, that's not realistic. I saw a really cool like prototype online. I can't remember what Twitter account I saw it on, but it was they were calling them like the Red Wolves. I thought that was pretty cool. Washington Red Wolves. I don't know what it correlates with Washington D.C., but I could see them going down like that political lane too. You know, like the Nationals, the Capitals, that type of thing too.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't. I was trying to think of some dirtbag names, but that you came through.
You know, I mean, after like talking about, you know, the whole scandal and everything, it's almost I almost don't even feel comfortable making fun of it. You know what I mean? Because like, it's like, who needs to be any more offensive than they already have? You know, I mean, to even joke around about a name is like not even. It doesn't even feel right now, you know what I mean? I would rather them just get the name right and make it, you know, politically correct and make it, you know, just non-discriminatory in general. Like any name that is not, you know, racial or discriminating, that would be fine with me at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, seriously. It could be the bumblebees from.
But
Right.
be cool colors, I guess. I don't know.
But seriously,
that's enough time on the Redskins, man. I don't want to spend too much time talking about those guys. They're you know, borderline not even worth it.
Right.
But we're gonna dig into these Madden ratings, man. So I guess we can just start, you know, with just the general team ratings. So weirdly enough, the Eagles are 6th on the list at 83. We're tied with the Cowboys, of course, which me and Darius talked about that a little bit earlier. Basically, it's like the ratings guys just, you know, they don't want us to conflict or like, blame them for putting one over the other, so they just rate everybody the same as far as the Cowboys and the Eagles. So I'll just go down the list. So they got the best team as New Orleans Saints, 85, the Niners, 84, Ravens, 84, Bucks, 83, Cowboys, 83, Eagles, 83, Kansas City, 82. The Super Bowl champions who didn't lose anybody, except I think Kendall Fuller. I think that might have been like one of their biggest losses. And they're 82. They're below us.
That shit's fugazi.
It doesn't make sense.
So then you got the Colts at 82, Steelers at 82, and then the Browns, Bears, Bills, Chargers, Packers, Raiders are all 81, and that rounds out like the top 10. I know that was more than 10 teams, but they're all kind of tied in there. And then they had the Seahawks below all those 81 teams at 80, which I thought was really weird as well. It's also weird, like, what do you have to do to be a 90 rated team?
I was wondering that. I was kind of surprised. Would you say the highest was like an 85? That's kind of low for the highest team.
Yeah.
And you would think some of
like
these teams. I guess what they do, it must go based off of every single player on your roster, and if people are like super low, maybe it pulls you down a little bit. I don't know.
That must be what it is.
Maybe it's just like the starters and their immediate backups. I don't know what it is, but I've never really understood the Madden ratings. I feel like they get it wrong a lot of the times, more times than not. Of course, you get excited when your team gets blessed, and you are one of the better teams, and you can be your home team and not worry about having to like be way better than the person you're playing. But I've never agreed with the majority of the Madden ratings, I feel like. One thing I will say, as much as there were some people that I didn't think got the respect they deserve, I'm glad that Fletcher Cox is at a 96. I feel like that's very well deserving. And, sometimes his stats doesn't necessarily live up to how good he is. So I'm glad that they're still recognizing him as the dominant player that he is. Because I feel like sometimes if you don't have the crazy stats, they're not going to put you where you deserve to be.
Yeah,
that being said,
and I also thought what I thought was weird. One, I get we don't have live sports right now, but like Madden is on everybody's topic list. That's why I feel like we had to feature it on here and give our opinions on it. But then on the other side, like, why do the players care so much? You know what I mean? I get it. I get it. They're probably just poking fun, but it's like some of these players really seem like they're getting offended.
Yeah, like Zach Ertz, bro.
Darius Slay, what's going on?
Darius Slay is not happy, and I don't blame him though. He definitely deserves to be over a 90. I feel like the amount of work he's put in. You never know. Like, nothing's ever guaranteed. So when you do put in that work and you produce, he did have the stats. He still didn't get the rating I feel like he deserved. At 88, sure, that's a great rating for any player. You should be happy to be at 88. But whenever you know that you're one of the best players in the league at your position, I feel like it should definitely be somewhat based off of how good you are compared to the other players in the league. Not just how good you are based on your speed, your agility, your awareness. Like, these different little things that are probably messing with people's ratings. And I don't know. I think that they care so much because it's not like it's like the 2000 and 05, 06, when a lot of these players probably didn't even play the video games like they do now. We're getting into more of a generation where the people grew up playing video games, so they kind of like, they want to, when they play at home, they want to be that dog that they are on the field. Like, respect me, like, the other players around the field respect me like that. Other people think I should be a 90. Yeah. Why am I not a 90?
Right.
You don't even play football.
Because that's like the thing is, like, with Darius Slay, for instance, is he 11 ratings worse than Stephon Gilmore? Really? Right. You know what I mean? I know Stephon Gilmore is good.
Of course.
Like, is he 11 ratings worse? Like, come on. You know what I mean? And then even, like, the Zach Ertz thing, you see Gronk sit out a year. I get the respect. He's a Hall of Fame tight end. But, like, to put him over Zach Ertz, it's like a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, Ertz played last year, and he was one of the top, 3 tight ends again, just like he has been the last, 4 to 5 years. So stuff like that is like a slap in the face, when you have Gronk coming back. Even all the Buccaneers hype, like even Tom Brady. I'm looking at the quarterback ratings. So Tom Brady came in at a 90. You got Wentz at 84. You got Dak at 84. Even Dak is better than an 84. And so, like, I'm looking at Brady, and I'm like, he's 6 ratings better than Wentz. If we look at the numbers from last year, Wentz was better in every category than Tom Brady with that stacked defense. His team was a little beat up, similar to the Eagles. It wasn't like the Eagles, though. You know, we were playing with 4-string wide receivers.
Yeah.
I agree. I almost feel like they're just trying to pay their respects to Tom Brady for being as good as he still is and being able to, like, make championships and still continue to, like, dominate. But I definitely agree. He's never been super athletic. He's just been very smart. He's got a quick release. He's accurate. He's got a strong arm. You know, he's got the stuff you want in a quarterback. He obviously is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But like you said, is he that much better than somebody like Wentz who's out here doing these, like, I don't like to say it, but like these Houdini-like plays, and he really is being just this incredible guy who's obviously a lot more athletic, makes the same throws, makes even better throws sometimes, I feel like, nowadays. Sure, Tom Brady in his prime.
Yeah.
And still Tom Brady, obviously, he has the amount of rings he has for a reason. He's a GOAT.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you should, like, give him that edge in a game when you base everything else so purely off of these statistics.
Yeah,
like Darius
exactly. And
I mean, you saying Bucks 83 and Eagles 83. I'm like, what?
yeah, I mean, I get it, because the Bucks are, you know, they did stack up and they had some pieces there. Like, their offense alone is probably what, like, puts them up at 83. And honestly, I don't think 83 is a bad rating for them. I just think that the ratings are so low and they're so high up on the list that it, you know, like the Saints or the Niners or the Ravens are only, you know, a rating better than the Buccaneers and the Eagles even, you know what I mean? Like, the Eagles on paper aren't as good as those teams. Like, and I know I expect big things out of the Eagles this year, but being realistic and unbiased. And then, like, looking at the quarterbacks, Brady's rating is fine. Like, 90 is fine. Okay, like, cool. But then you have Dak and you have Wentz and even Deshaun Watson, you know, these type of guys down there so far down the list where it's like, are they really that far away from Tom Brady? Even Drew Brees, you know, 93. And I think 93 is a fair rating for Drew Brees too. But I just think they gave, like, Dak, Wentz, and Watson, like, these guys are up there in quarterbacks. You know, Matt Ryan is in front of them.
Yeah, I know.
He's an 87. Like, he's 3 ratings better than Wentz and Dak. I don't see it. And I like Matt Ryan. I just don't see it.
I agree with that. I didn't like the Matt Ryan rating. And to add to your point, I feel like it's like, okay, so Breeze is a 93. Is Breeze, like, that much better at a quarterback than Slay is at cornerback? You know, like to be weighted that much higher, like, that's where I don't understand some of the consistency. I feel like Slay is as good as a cornerback as Drew Brees is a quarterback. So there needs to be some sort of, like, scale to balance that out a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
But you can't make everybody happy.
And then I think honestly, I mean, we talked about the Slay, we talked about you know, like Ertz and Wentz. But, like, Miles Sanders, I think, is probably the craziest rating on the game, man. 80?
80.
Because, like, when I saw the top 10 running back ratings come out and Josh Jacobs is sitting up at 88, once again, I like Josh Jacobs, yo. Like, I think he's a great running back. I think he's a future star. And 88, he's 8 ratings better than Sanders. And Sanders had more scrimmage yards.
He's as good as a running back as Slay is as a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit doesn't make sense, dude. It doesn't.
In his first season.
Miles Sanders, dude, the stuff he does.
What a phenomenal first season.
He's a consistent back. The only thing that slowed him down was, like, a little bit of being banged up. Other than that, and I hate that they're like, oh, yeah, Geis is, like, a power back. So that's why, like, okay, so, like, where does the edge come from not being a power back and being able to make people miss and catch and go and make these long plays? It doesn't make any sense to me.
And like, to your point about Geis, are you really taking Darius Geis over Miles Sanders? Like, to put him a rating above him is just disrespectful, man. Like, okay, so let's look at the numbers. This is just this nice fact I saw from Chris Infante on Twitter. From Philadelphia Sports Network. So Geis in his career has 42 carries, 245 yards, 7 receptions and 79 receiving yards, 3 total touchdowns in his career. Obviously, he's missed a lot of time from injuries. Not his fault, but you do have to take it into account. I'm sure they take that into account when rating wins, right?
Gotta be available.
So then we look at Sanders' numbers from week 13 to 16 of 2019 season, last year's rookie season. 71 carries, 329 rushing yards, 20 receptions, 173 receiving yards, and 4 total touchdowns. He did more in 3 weeks than what Darius Geis has done in his 2-year career. And you got him a rating. And I saw the guy that made the rating, he came out and said that Geis hits the hole better. And how do you know? He hasn't played.
Right.
Put him on the field as much as Miles Sanders. You know, Miles Sanders also, to your point about the injuries, he was also sitting behind Jordan Howard for a good part of the front part of the season. You know what I mean?
So
until Howard went down. So that one's the most offensive to me. I really like Miles Sanders. I don't even know that. I thought he was going to come in around like an 83 or an 84. 80 isn't that bad for a guy going into his second year. It's just when you see a guy like Geis, 81, or a guy like Josh Jacobs, 88. Like, come on, it was his rookie year. Who knows what he'll play? I mean, I think he's going to be good. Like, I think he's going to be great if I'm being honest. But it just, what are they rating Josh Jacobs on compared to Miles Sanders at that point? Because you're not doing it based off numbers, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. When you said some Cowboys dude making the ratings, I'm like, wait, what?
Like Darius said, the 96 for Cox was probably one of the most fair ones. And like he said, like, he didn't have the numbers, but you know the effect that Cox has on the game when he's getting double, triple teamed on the line. Kelsey's rating was good. Brooks, what's the highest guard's rating? Because Brooks is, you know, a top 2 guard. He's right there with Zach Martin and Quentin Nelson, you know. What are their ratings? Because I know Quentin Nelson last year was a 98, so I don't know about that. Lane Johnson's been an 89 the last 2 years, as if he's fallen off of some sort from the previous 2 years where he was 91. I didn't understand that either. Alshon, 84, that's fair. I might even have put him lower than that. Deshaun Jackson, 83 or 82. I can't remember which one they had him at. Rieger at 73. In respects to the other rookie wide receivers, I think they had them all a little too low.
Okay.
And they had Ruggs as the number 1 wide receiver. I didn't understand that either, but
I think they value speed a lot now, but like if that's the case, I don't know, like Rieger at a 73, I guess fine, you're a rookie, you're unproven, but it's like when you look at like his abilities, he's pretty nice. I feel like you could at least be like a 76, 77, something like that, you know, like a little upper 70s.
Especially on a video game, you know what I mean? He's a video game type of player.
Right.
Like,
that's the kind of guy
like Tyreek Hill.
He don't got to be that good. He'll get you a touchdown on a go route, you know.
Exactly. And that's the other thing. You got Tyreek Hill at 96, man. I think that's even kind of crazy. I like Tyreek Hill. But is he up there with like the likes of Julio Jones, who's a 97? He's only 1 rating worse than Julio.
Right.
I like Tyreek Hill, dude. Like, I do, but like, come on.
He's that type of game changer. I think he's earned that rating because I think like there is more of a like look at the draft this year. People were eating up those quick, fast guys like that. So I think they understand that the league's kind of going more in that direction because they want more points scored. They want flashy plays. You know, they want those big time long ones. One I didn't like was Dillard at 69. I think when he's played, he's done good. He hasn't really fucked up much. Pardon my language. I don't know if I can say that, but he hasn't messed up. He hasn't messed up too much. And I just feel like a 69 is really low for somebody who every time he stepped on the field has shown good things. I feel like you could have him at like the upper 70s and a 69. Like that's kind of I don't like that one.
It's like they did that to like weigh down our line. You know what I mean?
I think so.
It's like, oh well, these guys are really good on the other parts of the offensive line, so we're gonna give him a really like not good rating. And like you said, the only game he struggled last year is when they put him at right tackle when Lane went down.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not his side. He's a rookie, first year player. He's gonna get beat on the edge by guys like Khalil Mack and shit.
Right.
Like, come on, you know what I mean? One of the ratings I actually did like was Brandon Graham's at 87. I thought that was pretty respectable for this stage in his career. He was definitely our best pass rusher last year. But even then, you know, he had 6.5 sacks, a lot of QB pressures last year. Still kind of sketchy. I think it's respectable at least, you know, but...
My thing with Graham that I liked was the fact that, you know, he did test free agency. He came back, and he didn't really seem like, you know, some guys, they get their contract, and they're like, all right, let me preserve my body, let me kind of lay back a little bit. He still was coming full force, and even at those points in the season when it looks like we might not, like, be able to make that push and get the playoffs, like, our team, every position, like, those guys really stepped in and did their job. And I feel like the thing that sucks with us is we know Howie's not giving out big contracts, but a lot of guys earn those contracts with us. You know, like, they show that heart, they show that grit, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. You know, we have a truly great organization to watch every week, and I just think a lot of these guys do deserve bigger contracts, and I respect when they come back, because there's a lot of guys I would love to be lifetime Eagles.
Same.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like you said, that speaks to how great the organization is to get these guys to come back. You know, the passionate fan base, the owner, the GM, they listen to the fans. They listen to the team. You know, excuse me. They're very, you know, respectable around the league. You know, Howie got voted as the best GM in the NFL again. You know, this isn't just a coincidence. He is a financial wizard. I know he gets criticized. I've criticized him about the drafts, you know. But it's like we talked about before, you cannot hit on every draft pick. But if Dillard does struggle this year, his head's going to be on the platter, I guarantee it, man, spending that first-round pick. But at the end of the day, you can't blame him because at the time, Dillard was looking like a good draft pick. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not over yet. I think Dillard's going to be great this year. I do. I honestly
Me too. That's what I was just about to say.
I was comfortable with Jason Peters. I mean, this is Jason Peters, a Hall of Fame, really great guy. We've watched him a long time. We know that he can come in and do his job. He might have a couple offsides penalties, and, you know, like, obviously health is always a concern when you're that late in your career. But I was comfortable with Dillard coming in and taking that spot, and that speaks a lot for him. And something I like is that Baldy always backs him up, and he's had a lot of good film breakdowns for him, and he slices him up. And anytime he slices someone up, it's usually, like, worth noting.
Yeah, and I agree on that instance, and that kind of brings us into. I kind of just wanted to ask you how you felt about the Jason Peters signing. I thought to say it was big news was kind of misleading, but at the end of the day, it was a good signing, and that's what I take it for. Obviously, people were misled. They were thinking it was like Jamal Adams or, you know, Clowney or Ngakoue from Jacksonville. Jason Peters is a good piece. You know, not only does they're bringing him in as a right guard, but then on top of that, he brings that depth, you know, in case a guy like Dillard does struggle, or if Dillard gets injured, or if Lane gets injured, you know, he can slide out there to that tackle, throw Matt Pryor in that guard. And especially at this point in Jason Peters' career, you know, I think it's time for him to kind of move from that outside spot. He was having trouble with some of those, you know, outside speed rushers. But how do you feel about that signing? I liked it.
I personally loved it because, honestly, if we would have signed him before Brandon Brooks goes down, I wouldn't have been upset even then. I understand you want that insurance. He's a guy who knows the system in and out. He knows the organization in and out. He's great. He's a Hall of Famer. Even just to help develop guys like Dillard even more. Because he'll be playing right guard, but he's still going to be in Dillard's ear telling him, like, hey, next time do this, next time do that. Here's this. Maybe even now more so that he did kind of take his spot, he'll be more willing to even let out some more of that information that he might have held back when it was him possibly taking his job. So all around, you can't be mad at having a guy like that on your line, even if it's just for mentorship. And I think it's a fair deal. We're not overpaying for a guy like that. Obviously, you want as much money rolling into next year as possible for our cap situation, but I think it's all around really good, especially with Brooks going down. That's like you said, that's one of our highest rated players, and he's one of the best players in the league, I think, at his position.
Yeah,
obviously, and I just think at the end of the day, when you lose a guy like that, you need something. We needed to sign somebody and bring him
leadership, everything, you know, depth, leadership, and just to fill that role, literally.
Somebody,
and like you said, I would have been cool with bringing Peters back. Yeah, like before Brooks went down, you know. And then the only thing that I was concerned with that is the confidence, if that takes confidence from Dillard or something, you know, making him worry about his job. Yeah. I like it better in this situation, given that Brooks is injured, if we were going to bring him back. But yeah, I mean, he knows the offense. He knows Jeff Allen, one of the best offensive line coaches in the league.
Something I'll say also is the fact that you have someone like that beside Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson adores Jason Peters. He loves that man with all his heart. You can see it. You see the little bromance, even if he's on the other side of the line. But that's only because they're both tackles. He loves that dude. And he's going to love having him beside him. And that is a mean combination. You got Jason Peters and Lane Johnson side by side. I don't care what position they are.
And then Kelsey.
You could put Lane Johnson
Kelsey in the middle.
You could put Lane Johnson at center and JP at guard. I don't care where you're at on the line. That's a mean combination. You're not getting past that. I promise you. If they give you a little help, or if they give each other help, you're not getting past that because they can handle their own. So when you got that, that's like 3 defenders getting taken up, just them 2. You don't rush to that side at this point. They're gonna try to stack heavy on Dillard's side, and that's fine. We'll make adjustments. We'll probably give little chips and stuff, but I love it. I love the signing. I think it's great.
Yeah. And, putting him at that right guard position, people are worried about, like the transition from tackle to guard, especially moving over to the other side of the field even. He's in between 2, probably Hall of Famers in Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. He's a Hall of Famer himself.
Seriously?
So you're looking at 3 Hall of Famers in a row right there.
That's crazy.
So he's going to be secure. They're going to help him as much as he needs help. They'll be able to help Dillard. You know what I mean? That offensive line is so cohesive. It's been so good the last couple years with that offensive line coach, Jeff Allen. I have all the faith in the world in that position group. You know what I mean?
Yes. We have the best offensive line coach in the league, in my opinion. Maybe it's biased.
Yeah,
I just don't know any other one
between him and
has respect like he does from greats.
Between him and Deuce, as far as position coaches on our team, they're between those 2 as the best position coaches on the team, literally. Because the way Deuce rotates those running backs is amazing as well. He always knows the perfect. I don't know how he does it. He just keeps them in the perfect rhythm. You never see the running backs complaining about carries, which I love.
He's a baller. He knows that.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we won't spend no more time on, the Madden ratings. Jason Peters, that was a good. I'm glad we got the chance to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to dig into the top 10 running backs going into, the 2020-21 season. The way we're going to do it, we're just going to go, I'll give you mine, you give me yours, and then we'll talk, we'll hit our points as to why we got each player where they're at. If we have the same player, later or earlier, we'll just go with the flow and, hit our points that we have, as far as why we have them where we have them. So I'll just go ahead and get started. My 10th running back on the list, honestly, I don't know if everybody will even agree with me that he's a top 10 running back anymore, but Alvin Kamara, I know he had a down year last year, but he's just for me, I love the receiving back and the guy that can do it in all facets of the offense. I feel like it makes your offense more versatile. He definitely had a down season last year, only 796, a little under 800 rushing yards. Still had 500 receiving yards, so he's around the Miles Sanders, esque numbers there last year. But yeah, Alvin Kamara, I've had him in fantasy a couple years. I love that guy. His production for me while I've had him has been great, but I know he had a down year last year. I still like him in that Saints offense, though.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he's got a lot of dog in him. Like you said, he's a dual threat. He helps Drew Brees a lot open up the field. And, I mean, he did have a down year, but there's a lot of factors that go into that kind of stuff. He's still got that.
Is it really a down year, too,
I actually didn't put him in my top 10. Originally, whenever I was doing my top 10, he was in it when I was just thinking off the top of my head. But as I looked into it more, and I mean, obviously this is going into this season. It's not based on last year's performances. But you do have to take them into account. And I do think that they just have so much going on that it can maybe take away from him. And maybe there's guys on my list you could say the same thing about. But I do think he has as much potential as anyone to be a top 10 running back. But with my 10th running back on the list, I actually went with his old partner in crime, Mark Ingram. He had a pretty good year last year. He only had 202 rushes, and he had 1,018 yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry. His longest rush was a 53-yarder. He's still got a little juice in the tank. He can still break those long runs away. I think that with Lamar Jackson taking so much of that fright for run, because eventually they're going to start, all right, we need to preserve this guy because we're going to give him a big contract in Lamar Jackson. They're going to want to put the ball in their running back's hands and other things, but there's still that scare that he might take off with it, that I think that opens the field up a lot for him. And they have a lot of receivers that can get it done in tight ends and things. So I think that helps him kind of get his, whenever it does. I mean, 5 yards a carry and getting 1,000 yards on 202 rushes, that's pretty good. Compared to the other running backs on my list, that was by far the lowest.
Yeah, and see, I think my reasoning, because I looked at Mark Ingram's numbers too. I have a list of about 15 running backs here. You know, I kind of was just going through their numbers and stuff. He was definitely in the top 15 as far as numbers. I think my thinking behind it was, you know, I was thinking, and maybe this is my fault for holding it against him, but I was thinking about like Lamar Jackson, like you said, and what he presents, and why that makes it kind of easier for him. But you can't hold that against him either, you know. Also, I was thinking about the running back that got out of Ohio State, J.K. Dobbins, which I think he might be the best running back in the draft. And if they're smart, they might want to move towards him. But at the same time, Mark Ingram was still, like you said, he was a monster last year. And it actually surprised me, you know, seeing him get the bulk of the carries as a running back.
I mean, they paid him, so they kind of have to use him while he's there. So that's kind of why I think, even though you get Dobbins, you're obviously going to put him in that roto and give Mark Ingram a little bit more lax, but you're still paying him some decent money. So I think they're going to try to get their rushes out of him. I do think that's a good point. Yeah. And think about how they got Dobbins, and he's great. They had a great draft, really, honestly.
Yeah, they did. And to your point, you know, Mark Ingram brings that leadership, and it might be better for J.K. Dobbins to just, you know, kind of not sit out this season. He'll get his you know, touches, but just kind of watch how Mark Ingram works. You know what I mean? In the NFL, hitting the holes, and you know, different parts of your game. There's stuff that Mark Ingram can definitely teach him, and it might be better off in that situation. So at my number 9, I actually had Joe Mixon. A lot of people actually have him in like their top 5 running backs. I don't watch a lot of Cincinnati football, honestly. They weren't very good last year. But Joe Mixon, from his numbers and some of the film that I've watched, you know, he's kind of like that scat back, same type of thing. You know, he can receive, he can run the ball. He's a little bit more powerful, I think, than Alvin Kamara. But yeah, I like him. His numbers were pretty good last year. Sitting at about 1,200 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 300 receiving yards. He's a good back, man. And I think with Joe Burrow, you know, rookie quarterback, he's going to lean on him a little bit too, you know. So it could help his numbers.
Yeah, that's a good point. He was like literally my 11th running back I had on my list. He was one of those guys, him, Le'Veon Bell, like some of these guys, I just had them right on the edge, and it was really hard to pick against them because they are great. But my thinking about it was, okay, you got Joe Burrow in there now. You didn't have a quarterback before. Now that you got somebody in there that can throw it, maybe they were running the ball a lot. Because like you said, I didn't watch a lot of Cincinnati football either, so I really didn't have much to go off.
Yeah.
I didn't even write down his rushing attempts, but I'm sure it was up there. And so I just assume now that they do have Joe Burrow, maybe it does open it up for him and he even does better. Or maybe now he's just getting less touches, and it could be good for his longevity. Yeah. And maybe he's getting more receptions, but rushing-wise, I think it could hurt him. That was kind of what I...
Because Joe Burrow, I mean, they might come out and, you know, air it out with Joe Burrow. They got a decent receiving core down there, and, I mean, who knows? You know, if they're confident in him, he was the number 1 pick, literally, so we'll see.
You said with Lamar Jackson, obviously he's not Lamar Jackson at all, but he can get it on his feet. He's not afraid to tuck the ball and kind of get those first downs, so...
Yeah, he's athletic, so, yeah. Who do you got at number 9?
Number 9, I put Chris Carson. He had 1,230 rushing yards. Some people might even have him higher on their list, or maybe not in the top 10 at all, but I really liked him. I thought that, I mean, he had 7 touchdowns, 4.4 a carry. I feel like that's pretty good. When you're above the 4 yards per carry mark and you have something like 278 carries, that's a good bit to be carrying your weight and still getting that kind of production.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got Russell Wilson there, and he scares defenses so much. I mean, just like Lamar Jackson, man, it's just it's so hard to tell because you never know who's going to be like that guy. But Chris Carson is a very good insurance for Russell Wilson.
Chris Carson was kind of like you said about Mixon. He was like one of my fringe guys. Same with Josh Jacobs. They were just on the edge, of getting in my top 10. I really wanted to put Josh Jacobs in there, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't after one season.
One more year.
Because I'm leaving guys like Le'Veon Bell out of my top 10, who I think is a top 10 running back. It's just his situation.
Talent-wise.
You know what I mean? So number 8, I got Leonard Fournette from the Jags. You'll be able to see it. You'll see the numbers on the screen right there. He's a monster for Jacksonville last year. I feel like Gardner Minshew, a lot of his success was leaned on Fournette, being just that horse in the backfield. And he actually showed his showed his true value, I thought, last year. He finally, exploded and played consistently throughout the season, even with the Jags playing so bad. So I had Fournette up there. He was sitting at about 1,200 rushing yards, 500 receiving yards, which I didn't know he was in. I didn't know he was a receiving back like that. So it actually shocked me when I saw that number for his receiving yards. Who do you have at 8, though?
See, this is where I got a little, and this there's definitely a little bias here. Is what I'm trying to say. I got Miles Sanders. The reason being is because watching him firsthand, and I do think he didn't get the respect that he kind of deserved after this last season, like we've talked about. Like, he did really good. He had 818 rushing yards, 509 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns total for receiving and rushing. His longest was a 65. He averaged 4.8 per run. 4.8 per run. Like, if you're up towards the 5 yards per run mark, that's good. That shows you're getting open. You're getting through the open field. You're turning up. And he does that. He's got speed. We saw him in that race with Deshaun Jackson in the offseason, and he was going stride for stride with Deshaun Jackson. That's not easy to do. And I just look at how he said, obviously players can say whatever they want, but he's saying he wants an MVP type of year. He's trying to get MVP. Anyone with that kind of mentality, God willing, no injuries and stuff like that, I think he could definitely, maybe he doesn't have an MVP year, but I think he could definitely be a top 10 back, maybe even in top 5 if we don't spread the ball too much. We have a lot of options on our offense. That's really my only issue with him.
That was kind of why I kept him off of my top 10, man. I was in the same boat. I really wanted to put him up there. And in my heart, I think he will be. Everything all right, Will?
Yeah. Gotta take a piss break.
You kind of threw us off.
Well, I was just laughing.
Slow down.
Keep it rolling. Because I was like,
slow down on the beers, bro.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I'm going to keep this, because I was going to put the slideshows, but now I'm glad you guys mentioned that.
But, I'm in the same boat with Miles Sanders, man. I truly do in my heart. I didn't want to seem biased. I do believe he will be a top 10 back. Even himself, he said, he wants to be the next Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, he wants to be his own player, but he wants to be that type of player that the offense relies on like that. And that's respectable alone. You look at his first-year numbers; they're great. I get why you put him there. I get it.
For sure.
So we'll move to number 7. This is another guy that I have a little bit lower on my list than I guess the national rankings that we've been seeing. Aaron Jones. So he had a monster year last year with the Packers, especially in the end zone. 16 touchdowns. He had 19 touchdowns total between rushing and receiving, which that alone put him in my top 10. Just when you put the ball in the end zone that much. But I also think he was benefited, by an Aaron Rodgers-esque offense, where you have to give him so much respect. You can't put people up in the box when you're playing Aaron Rodgers. So that's why he's kind of lower on my list. His rushing yards weren't up that high. He's sitting around 1,000 yards. Average 68 yards a game. I like Aaron Jones. I just think, in my opinion, I think he's kind of a product of that offense. Especially with the end zone, just to have that little amount of yards. Not little, but he was a 1,000-yard rusher. But compared to the 19 touchdowns, you know what I mean? it means he was getting the ball a lot in the red zone. You know what I mean? So
he saved their ass.
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones though.
I understand that a lot. He was another one that I really wanted to put there because you look. Whenever I saw that stat, I was like, "Whoa, 16 rushing touchdowns!"
Yeah.
Like, nobody had anywhere close to that, or other than Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And some people have Aaron Jones in their top 5. You know, I've seen lists with him in the top 5, which I think that's a little ridiculous. But
man, Aaron Jones was fun having him in fantasy football.
I bet.
I remember you had him, man. Touchdown machine.
He was definitely a touchdown machine. I definitely understand why I put him there because he definitely is a really good player. He contributes a lot. Having Aaron Rodgers there helps him a ton because I feel like he gets you into the red zone. That's kind of like how like Gostkowski used to be so good for the Patriots because I feel like they would always get in the red zone no matter what. So you're at least going to get some sort of points from having a quarterback that can get you there.
Yeah.
So I think that helped him a lot. It kind of put him in good situations. But it could also, you could say that would make it even harder for him to get those touchdowns because you're stacking the box when you get a little bit closer back. But
in the red zone,
Aaron Rodgers can throw those corner fades. It's kind of hard to stack. But so for in that spot instead, that's actually where I had Leonard Fournette.
Okay.
I think he has a lot of potential. He came out of college. He was a little bit older already, but he is just such a dog. He's ready. He was ready for the league. He proved it. And I mean, the biggest stat that threw me off: 81 yards was his longest run. That guy is a big dude. 81 yards is a long run. Zeke's longest run, who's also on my top 10, his longest run was 33. Leonard Fournette is arguably bigger, probably not even. I don't know about how fast they are compared to each other. I'd say Zeke's faster. 81 yards. That's a big run. That's a big man that can move.
That's pretty nice, man. Yeah, I like Leonard Fournette. He was kind of one of those, those like rumors, that the Eagles might be trying to trade for him to get that like power back.
Yeah.
At this point, with Miles Sanders, I don't even want us to pursue another back like that. I'd rather us get, like a power back that can be, just come off the bench, like I don't want anybody to affect Miles' touches at this point. Like I want to see what he's about. But Leonard Fournette, man, he was 8 for me, so 7. I get it. Yeah. So we'll move to number 6 now. So number 6, man, I really wanted to put this guy in my top 5. I just didn't really have like the leverage to prove it. Dalvin Cook out of Minnesota, man. He was a stud last year. And I think he got injured his first year and missed like the whole season, right? He tore his ACL or something like that.
Like very early.
That dude, I thought, you never know when they come back from those injuries like that, but came out last year close to 1,200 yards, 4.5 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns really stuck out to me. And I just kind of remember the madness that he put on us whenever we played him too. He's just faster and bigger than everybody else. It's weird, man.
It was annoying. Definitely annoying. I like Dalvin Cook a lot. I remember I didn't take him in fantasy because of the injury thing, and then he kind of bit me in the ass by doing great. In that spot, though, I had Todd Gurley. 223 yards, 223 attempts, 857 yards. Not a lot of yards, but he was battling his own things last year. I think him being on Atlanta is really going to revamp him. He loves Atlanta. Played for Georgia, if I'm not wrong. I mean, I just think all around this is a good fit for him. They haven't really. I mean, Freeman's been good. They've had good backs, but I don't think they've had anybody at that caliber. And I think like the effect that he has for a team. You look at the Rams on their little playoff run, and he was kind of banged up. As soon as he wasn't playing anymore and he was just a distraction, they were not doing that good. They weren't putting up as many points. They really
couldn't score a touchdown against the Patriots.
Yeah, they couldn't score one touchdown in the Super Bowl. That was crazy. And I just feel like he'll be revamped in Georgia or in Atlanta with the Falcons, and I think he'll have a great
with 97 Julio.
Yeah, you have Julio on the outside. You really can't stack much.
See, so where I'm at with Todd Gurley, man, I kind of agree with you. Like, I can see where Todd Gurley could, dip into that top 10 running back because he obviously has the talent. You know what I mean? It just worries me because, with the Rams last year and even the year before, like in the playoffs, when they got to the playoffs and were headed, went to the Super Bowl, I remember we were all watching the Super Bowl like what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, is he injured? They don't say anything about it. So, like, the Rams didn't give us any information to indicate why they stopped giving him the rock as much. Even last year, I had Todd Gurley on my fantasy team, and, he was a touchdown machine. That was like, his way of getting points. But, like, there would be times when I'm watching the Rams games, and they got, these backup running backs in. And I'm just like, Todd Gurley's supposed to be that workhorse. You gave him a bunch of money. And I kind of just didn't understand, what was going on there in LA. So I think with the transition to Atlanta, like you said, he's going to be more comfortable there. He obviously loves the city. He's going to love playing with Julio and that aired out offense, which they can finally slow it down a little bit for Matt Ryan, and not have to throw the ball as much. And I think it's going to be either, hit or literally, like, miss. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be hit or miss as far as, like, his production. He's either going to do really well and, he's going to make us wonder what the hell is wrong with the LA Rams, or he's going to do really bad and we're going to see why the Rams, got rid of him, didn't trust him anymore, whatever the case was there. I just really didn't understand what happened with the Rams because they never – maybe he was injured, but they would just never say it. You know what I mean? It was weird. I didn't get it.
I think they use it as a tactic to just not give people the edge, but it's like, I don't know. I definitely think his production this year is key. The key point is going to be his health. If he can stay healthy, I think he does good. If he's not healthy, then they probably made a bad move.
All right, so we're getting into the top 5 now, so it should get really interesting here. So number 5, I got Nick Chubb, man. And I think by the end of next season, he could be even further up on this list. He's a stud. I know he had to split a little time with Kareem Hunt. It wasn't that much. He was still a workhorse last year. And to even that point, the fact that Kareem Hunt wasn't getting major touches last season shows something about Nick Chubb. The fact that you don't want to give Kareem Hunt the ball, who's a really good running back, and you would just rather just give it all to Nick Chubb, you know what I mean? Looking at his numbers here, he was averaging about 94 yards a game rushing, sitting at about 1,500 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns. Guy is a workhorse, man. I like him in that Browns offense. I feel like he makes Baker a little bit more comfortable. I feel like they may lean on him a little bit more this season, just to get Baker away from those, because he had some really bad numbers last year with the 21 interceptions. Just try to settle him down a little bit and get him in a rhythm, and you do that, by feeding your running back sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I got Nick Chubb as well, not at the same spot, so I'll just give my opinion on Nick Chubb on the next one. I'll go ahead and give mine. I don't know if we're at 5 or 4 right now.
5.
I feel like we've gone
through
5. I feel like I've gone through 5 running backs, but I could be wrong. But Ezekiel Elliott is my number 5. The reason I put him there, 301 attempts, second most attempts out of all the running backs. You had 1,357 yards, 12 touchdowns. You're getting the production that you're supposed to be getting, but I also think that has a lot of touches for the amount of yards he had. There's other running backs that had less touches and got more yards. And, 4.5 yards a carry, that's fine. But something that kind of dropped him on mine was that longest run only being 33 yards. Maybe it was situational. Maybe he just didn't get that chance to break one. And I know he still has the ability to break them. And he's a great running back. That just kind of put him at number 5 for me. I just kind of felt like...
Which...
number 5 would be...
That leads me to my number 4, which is Zeke. That's where I got Ezekiel Elliott. To your point, I think a lot of that, like his longest rush, maybe that's why Dak had such great numbers last year. You know what I mean? Because they're just stuffing that box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know that Zeke's the scariest thing whenever we play Dallas. the reason I got him fourth is just, these other three guys that are in front of him are just complete, workhorses. And I don't know. I like Zeke. I think he's a great running back. You already read his numbers out. They speak for themselves. I agree with you, though. It seems like he's slowed down a bit since his rookie year. His rookie year, I think, was his best year. It might have been his second year, sophomore season, but he's definitely, eye test has slowed down. He's not as scary as far as breaking away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that was 2 years ago when he jumped over Trey Sullivan. I haven't seen that explosiveness, and I know he would hear us talking about this and he would tell us to shut our mouths or whatever, but I'm not hating on him. He's still a top 5 running back, literally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for sure. And I wonder, he does seem like that guy that loves the spotlight and loves the party scene, and he's always got little things going on, and maybe that's maybe he cares more about that than football. But you got paid, you gotta
you got paid.
You gotta produce, So going into my next one is Nick Chubb, like you already said. He had
Nice.
1,494 yards, almost 1,500 yards. That was a lot for the running backs this year. 88-yard was his longest, that might have been the longest out of all the running backs in my top 10. An 88-yard run, that's a lot. And 5 yards a carry, I think that speaks for itself, He adds a lot to that team. They have a lot going on that could be good for them if they can kind of get everybody together and get some good chemistry and put the right things, the right playbook together for what they got. Because, I don't know, I think he's a great piece. And they got a steal in him. I think Nick Chubb was a great.
Yeah, seriously. They robbed the NFL with that one, man.
Yeah.
I like Nick Chubb too, man. And I think, like I said, I think his numbers are going to go up even more.
Yeah.
Because he was second in the league in rushing behind Derrick Henry, I think, with the 1494. Derrick Henry's sitting at 1540. So I mean, he's right up there. You know what I mean? And if Baker just gives him a little help and doesn't turn over the ball, maybe he has even more.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
Seriously.
But so we're to number 3 now. Number 2 and 3 are kind of, I could switch them either way, but I just like number 2 more than number 3. Derrick Henry, I got him at number 3. He had the best numbers in the league last year. Like I said, 1,500 yards rushing, 5.08 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns. The only reason I put him lower than these top 2 guys is just the receiving out of the backfield ability. He's just more that workhorse, that power back, that guy. And when I say power back, I don't mean that he can't take off, because we've seen him, make those long runs, and it's really ridiculous. And I know some of his high school numbers have surfaced, just for a side note. And I mean, if you see that list of his senior year games, man, those numbers are ridiculous. And it just shows that every level that he's went to now, he's just been that workhorse back, and he just got rewarded. So you hope that he just keeps it up next year, and Tennessee will need him. They feed off of that running game. That's just their style of team. It's a run, heavy defense, just that style. I think it puts him in prime position to keep producing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's definitely in my top 3. I didn't put him at number 3 just because I love that guy a lot and what he does for that team. He really won me over. I mean, he's had me won over since college. But I feel like in the playoffs last year, he was really he put the team on his back and kind of gave them a chance where I thought, wow, they might even go all the way to the Super Bowl. I was looking at it I wouldn't have been mad either. I would not have been mad if they'd have made it. And I was really I was proud of kind of how he put that team on his back. So I'll get to him.
I mean, if they don't run into the Super Bowl champions, who knows? Because they took out the Patriots and then they took out the Ravens.
Yeah.
2 of the best teams in the AFC. So I mean.
Guys were
the Ravens game really surprised me, man.
It didn't make sense how guys just bounced off of him, and he would keep running at a fast rate. It's normally it's okay, he's super slowed down, everybody can just get on him. Nah, he's breaking tackles and keeps his momentum. It's crazy. It's awesome to watch. But at number 3 for me, and he could obviously be 2 or 1. I put Christian McCaffrey. His numbers speak for themselves. He averages 4.8. He had 15 touchdowns, almost 1,400 rushing yards. 84 yards was his longest run. His awesome out of the receiving game. I wonder how things go for them going forward. You know, obviously he still did good when Cam wasn't there, but I wonder how things are going to go for them. You know, that team has some unknowns, and I think they still have some soul searching to do. And while he showed that he can take the workload, I mean, 287 carries? That's a lot, you know? People always thought, like, oh, he's not that big. He shouldn't be able to do that. And in reality, he's really strong. Let's not take anything away from the guy. But, I mean, he could obviously be number 1, but I put him at number 3. I just think that there might be a little bit of a drop-off. I think teams eventually start to,
and to your point, like, is that really how you want to use your star running back every single year, you know, putting all that work on his shoulders? But, yeah, I mean, I guess I can go ahead and just give it out. I mean, I got Christian McCaffrey as my number 1. Okay. And then I got Saquon Barkley at number 2. In my opinion, I think Saquon Barkley is the most talented running back in the NFL. Receiving game, running game. He had I wouldn't even call it a down year last year. Just not up to his standard that he set in his rookie year. But, I mean, he's still putting up, you know, top 5 numbers. I thought his Madden rating was ridiculous. Like, the fact that he couldn't get a 90, I thought that was insane. They put him at, like, an 89. But, Saquon, like I said, I think he's the most talented back in the league. He was a little beat up last year. Giants didn't have a great offensive line. They had a rookie quarterback in there. I think his numbers will improve this season.
Yeah, for sure. I had Saquon at number 2 as well. I was really close to putting him at my number 1 because I love him. You know, I'm a Penn State guy. I've been watching him for a while. I probably had a little bias towards the Miles Sanders, even though, like, just aside from being an Eagles fan, like, I've watched these guys go off, you know, at every level. Like you said about Derrick Henry, you know, like, they do their job. He's a great receiver. He's a great runner. He can make people miss. He can run through people. He's built like a horse. Like, this guy, they're building the line up a little bit. You know, Daniel Jones is going to keep increasing his abilities, which will make Saquon get more availability. And I just think that guy he's got it all, like, as far as what you want in a running back to build your team around. Yeah. He's the kind of guy you can build a team around. And then that leads me to Derrick Henry at number 1. 303 attempts, so he obviously can take that workload into the playoffs, like we said, and still carry a team. You know, you have 303 attempts in the regular season, and you're still making guys bounce off you in the postseason and still putting your team in a position. You know, Ryan Tannehill got cut. You know, like, obviously he's not just the only reason that he did good with Tennessee, but he helps a lot in that situation. He helps that team be really good. 5.1, which is the highest per rush. 74 was his longest amount of yards for one run, and I mean 16 touchdowns. It's ridiculous. I see him being a 2,000-yard rusher this year if he doesn't slow down based on getting paid, because he got paid. He seems like the kind of guy that'll just keep working hard and not slowing down. Yeah, so I could see him at least getting closer to the 2,000-yard rushing mark.
You know who he kind of reminds me of, man? And I'm not saying they're the same player at all, but he kind of reminds me of like an Adrian Peterson-esque running back. Yeah. Just that hard-nosed, power back that has the speed to break away as well.
Dominant.
And just that workhorse every year. AP tore his ACL a couple times and still was putting in work the next seasons after. You know what I mean? So I feel you on that. I could see it. He could have his best seasons ahead of him. He's built so nice that like his durability isn't really in question. You know what I mean? He's putting a lot more hurt on other people than they are putting on him.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel that. I got Christian McCaffrey, CMC at number 1. Really, like I've said, I love the receiving backs. I love that being that liability for the quarterback and that comfort blanket. Like you said, close to 1,400 rushing yards, 4.8 yards per attempt. The 1,000 yards receiving is really what just like blew my mind away. Because that's just so much work. You know what I mean? So that's like 2,400 yards total for him on offense, and 19 touchdowns. So you can go either way, man. Any of those top 3, honestly, I could put them in any order. I like them all probably about the same. And you put them in different situations. Who knows what happens? give Saquon Christian McCaffrey's line, and maybe he can do, the similar type things.
Yeah.
But yeah, as of right now, Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to pay my respect to that season he had last year. Like you said, it is kind of iffy going forward. They got a quarterback that they can trust a little bit more in Teddy Bridgewater. They brought in the coach from Temple to be their head coach. I can't actually remember his name, but I think he's actually an offensive guru. So I look forward to seeing what that team's about. They're in a division where, who would you say is the worst team in that division? Like the Falcons or the Panthers. But they're all relatively, competitive. They could lose to one another any game, any time.
Yeah, any of them you could see coming out on top, like any given Sunday, anything can happen. All those guys are really good.
Right. So that's it for our top 10 running backs. That was actually pretty fun. I enjoyed that. Running backs is one of my favorite positions in the NFL, honestly, because they can do so much for an offense. And yet they get rewarded the least out of the offensive players, which is very weird. But, in the same sense, they don't generally last long either.
Yeah.
So there's guys, like we said, like Le'Veon Bell that I would love to put in my top 10 because I think he's a top 10 talent.
Yeah.
It's just that, looking at him going to the Jets, I think that was a bad career move. They're just in a rebuilding stage, you know what I mean? Yeah, money. You got to get the money, man. They're in a rebuilding stage, though. So at his stage in his career, I don't think that was a great fit. Overall, maybe he does well with, the ball having to be fed to him. But Le'Veon Bell is probably like my honorable mention, I would say, because I really like his game. There's a couple guys down there like that. Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs for me. But yeah, that's the top 10 for us. I guess we should get it moving a little bit.
Yeah.
We've been talking a long time. It's actually been a really good episode. I've enjoyed this.
Honest to God.
So we'll get into
you guys talk. Oh my gosh.
We'll get into this this last segment. We're going to talk about the NBA real quick. We're getting pretty close to the return of the NBA. Shorten the little 8 regular season games, and then we'll hop into the NBA playoffs. So I guess I'll ask you guys first, and then you guys can pick whichever order you want to go in when you answer. We'll start out. Who do you think has the most to prove coming into the NBA playoffs? And we can go team and player here, and you can pick a couple if you want, whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Most approved for me. If we're talking about a whole team, I guess kind of just a player too. I think it's the Bucks. I think Giannis, he's had these stars around him for a little while now. Like, should be comfortable with this team. At this point, he's getting close. It might even be his contract year, like either this or next year. So he needs to see are they going to be able to win, or is he going to get it out of there, or tell them that we need to revamp this team and go in a different direction. And does he even have the ability to do that? If we're talking about specific players. And I guess you could go organization too as the Lakers. I think LeBron, he's really trying to get he cares about his legacy a lot. He got the right guys. He got the guys he wanted. He got Anthony Davis. He got good pieces around him. Expectations are championship or bust, I think, for the Lakers. So I think there's a lot to prove with them.
And to your point, I mean, we've spoken, off camera, and like I've told you, I think if LeBron wins a championship with the Lakers, then, it's hard to put him past MJ, but, that makes the conversation a lot more difficult, you know what I mean? And it's already difficult as it is, but if he gets that championship with 3 different teams, man, and he's been part of the organization, because in a sense, he is part of that GM room, you know what I mean? He's kind of, I don't want to say he picks the players out, but he has to approve of these teams.
More than any player I've seen, I feel like. No other players have that kind of control that he's had. And, I mean, he broadcasts it. He showcases it.
Yeah. So what about you, Will? Who do you think, as far as, competing in the playoffs this year, has the most improved, East or West?
I really like his answer with the Bucks. For me, I'm still either on the Clippers side or the Sixers side.
That made some big moves, man.
Yeah, I know, man. And they've been playing brilliantly too. There's no denying it. So, I really do like your Giannis answer though, because that makes me think a lot. Because you know what, man, he is due a ring here soon. and he could pop off at any time, you know. So
you're putting fake crowns on your head. You better show some. You gotta show something quick.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what the Bucks have been like a #1 seed in the East for the last 2 or 3 years now, and Giannis got the MVP last year. He's looking like he might get the MVP this year again.
Yeah.
You got to show up. Last year he looked lost against Kawhi in the Raptors. Man, he looked lost. Literally, I was expecting way more out of him. I thought the Bucks last year, you know, with the shooting that they have around him, Brook Lopez can even step out there and shoot. So I was thinking the Bucks, you know, they could have beat the Warriors too last year. I thought, you know, I'm gonna go with I got a team from the West and a player from the West, and then I got a team from the East as well. I'm just gonna go in a different route than you guys, obviously, because I mean I agree, like Giannis, and then you know even the Clippers making those 2 huge moves, bringing in Paul George and Kawhi. You immediately set the standard of championship or bust. You made those moves, and you have to act on them quickly, just like the Lakers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but I'm going to go with the Rockets in the West. I think James Harden, you know, he's been playing at that MVP level for how many seasons now, and they just always choke. And it's usually against the Warriors, you know, and the Warriors won't be there this season. They have a very dynamic way of playing where, you know, I think a team like the Lakers could dominate the Rockets, but if they get the right path to, you know, move up in the playoffs, because they put PJ Tucker at center, you know what I mean? This guy's like 6'6", 6'7", maybe at center, and he's not a Draymond Green either, you know what I mean? So they're playing complete small ball, and they're going to shoot a lot of three-pointers, and then you got Russell Westbrook back there as well. Which he's another player that, you know, I think has a lot to prove himself as well. You know, finally getting on a different team. This team in the Rockets, they went to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, you know, so they're held to this standard now.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then my Eastern Conference team, I'm going to go with the Sixers just because, you know, I have a lot of passion for them and understanding of what's going on with them. I'm not just pointing it at one player, although I do think it relies on Ben Simmons a lot more. I think Joel Embiid's ready to go. Ben Simmons, man, I don't know. You know, he's been shooting a lot lately in these videos, but this stuff has been happening, you know, the last 2 or 3 years. These videos come out in the off season or off periods when they're training. And, you know, in an empty gym, he's shooting threes. And maybe the no crowd there will help him and encourage him, you know, to shoot more. But a lot of their success relies on him and his ability to flow in the offense and make the offense go. They did just move him to power forward, I've heard in rumors, and then they're moving Shake Milton into the starting lineup at point guard and making Al Horford come off the bench. I think that's the right move because Ben at the power forward, he can get that rebound and just go, you know, and he can guard the 1 through 4 or 5 position. He's about 6'10". But yeah, I think Embiid, Simmons, Embiid, it's time for you to be in shape in the playoffs and play consistently throughout the playoffs. We saw some dominating series last year, you know, and then some games he'd just disappear or he'd be sick or whatever he's going on with him. He needs to take care of his body, go through the right measurements, you know, down there in the bubble and take care of himself. But yeah, that's where those are my 2 teams I think that got a lot to prove. There's a lot of teams with a lot to prove in reality, but because at the end of the day, we're looking at the Warriors and they're not there anymore. And those were the guys that were just steadily there. So it was like a lot of the time you didn't expect to beat the Warriors in general, so it didn't really matter. Yeah. So this year with the Warriors out of it, you still got those juggernaut teams in the Lakers, Clippers, and then, you know, the Bucks. But I feel like the playing field is a little bit more level this year.
Anyone can beat anyone. It's just like I think it was Stephen A. said about like the Trailblazers. He think that they'd beat the Lakers if they played week 1 or like Series 1. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen.
Shouldn't happen, but it's possible.
But you don't. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you never know. Melo's looking slim again. I mean, they could be revamped.
Yeah.
So. There's a lot of teams that are.
The only thing with that is that I think, like we said, like LeBron has a lot to prove, and a series like that's a series that he can win. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the Clippers, where the Lakers are going to need everybody to play well in order to beat the Clippers. Whereas you're playing the Portland Trailblazers, yes, CJ McCollum, Melo, and Damian Lillard, of course, That's the one matchup that is scary is Damian Lillard because he's a bullseye from anywhere on the court. But I think LeBron has the capability still at his age to take over that series and win that series, especially in the first round when he's full of energy.
And I think to add to that with LeBron is like last year we didn't get to see him. We didn't get to see like playoff LeBron, and then now we're at a point where we still haven't seen playoff LeBron yet. So we know he saves energy for the playoffs. He knows he's going to be there every year because he does it. He has these long seasons. He conserves his energy for that. So we haven't seen him turn up in a while. So it'll be fun to watch. Hopefully he stays healthy and we can watch a good long NBA playoff series.
Yeah.
I mean, we want Lakers versus Clippers. You know what I mean? That's what we wanted to see. That's what we're all hoping for. And that's in my mind. I think that's obviously there's an Eastern Conference teams that could go up there and possibly beat those two teams. But I think those are the consensus two best teams in the league. The Bucks are up there, but they got the best record in the league. But they're just unproven. We haven't seen the success in the playoffs like we've seen from guys like Kawhi and LeBron. So. I agree. So I guess the next segment, this is what we'll finish it off with. Who do you guys got as like your biggest surprise coming in the playoffs? A scary team that you might just not expect, scary player, something like that.
You go first?
Yeah. So for me, I got one from each conference. I think in the Western Conference, like I already said, the Trailblazers. I think they're that team that they make it in there. They're going to be hot. They're going to be rolling. I even saw Dame said at his birthday party, like, let's make sure we don't waste our time out here. They're here for business. They're ready. That is a team I don't want to have to see in the first round or second. This team you kind of you can beat them, but they are a team that always has that potential. And then on the Eastern Conference, you can go either way. I don't want to say the 76ers because I think that they're not a surprise team. They're supposed to make a push right now. They're in a good situation. They've had time to rest. Everybody's healthy. They're making the right adjustments, I think, by putting Shake Milton at the point guard and finally getting Ben Simmons a chance to he can make those passes anywhere on the court. He doesn't have to be at the point.
Yeah.
So it's good to get the ball out of his hands some and let him work the floor a little bit. But my team for the Eastern Conference, I think, is the Miami Heat. I mean, I love that story about how somebody complained in the hotel, 3 a.m. about thuds and stuff, and the security went to check on it. Is Jimmy Butler fully drenched in sweat in his practice gear, dribbling the basketball around his room? Other people probably didn't even think to bring a basketball with them, and he's in here getting his absolute. And this was in a quarantine period, and he was still getting his reps in, getting his dribbles in, and getting comfortable. And that dude, we even saw it when he was on the 76ers. He's hungry. He wants to win. He's not afraid to call people out. He's not afraid to get out of a team if he thinks that they're not about the same goal as him, and that's winning championships.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, honestly, I guess the bitterness comes from, a 76er perspective. You kind of just wish that they would have kept him. He was their best player last year, in the playoffs.
Yo, real quickly, I
like the Heat. Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I just say real quickly, I really agree with. I'm looking forward to Lillard in the playoffs.
Game time.
Game time, and then I'm gonna go with the Sixers just because me and you have been on that wave, feeling it.
Yeah. The thing about the Sixers is, like Darius said, they're not really a sleeper team, but the situation that they put themselves in by not performing up to par has now put them down to, either the 5 or 6 seed, which is, in reality, they should have been up in the top 3, top 4 teams in the East, in my opinion. They just underperformed this season to where you could put them as a sleeper.
If they win a championship, I think they're a sleeper.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Heat, to your point, just coming from a 76er perspective again, we are going to have that option where if we stay in the 6th seed, then we'll play the Celtics. We can go to the 5 seed, we'll play the Heat. I honestly would rather play the Celtics. I think it's a better matchup. I don't like Joel Embiid against Bam Adebayo. And like you said, Jimmy Butler is a dog, man. I do think Ben Simmons is one of the best defenders in the league and could hamper him a little bit. But Jimmy has that drive. He's going to figure it out. You know what I mean? And then it's not that I don't think Joel Embiid can take Bam Adebayo. I just don't like that matchup over somebody from the Celtics. The Theses of the world, and Gordon Hayward and Jason Tatum's playing power forward. Like, they don't really have a big man to match up with Embiid compared to the Heat, where Bam Adebayo is a great defender. And he's great all around, but especially defense, his athletic ability. He's fast, he's athletic, he gets up and down the court. And that could cause problems, man. And they're shooting too, having Harrow out there. Man, who's that one guy that they had come in this year? He's like a rookie. He's not supposed to do that.
Is it Dunn or Nunn or something like that?
Nunn. I think it's Nunn, man. He was averaging like 20 points a game, dude.
Yeah,
and I think he's a rookie.
Yeah.
But I like the Heat pick. I got two teams from just like you guys from the East and the West. I'll start with the West. Honestly, it's like you said. I like the Portland Trailblazers as a sleeper, as well as if they don't make the playoffs and the Pelicans make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then I really like the Pelicans too. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Young team. I think they might falter out just because they're young. Make some mistakes, whatever the case may be. But they got, that trade for Anthony Davis was about as equal as you could get. You know what I mean? As well as them bringing in Zion. So Zion, I really want to see in the playoffs. I just want to see it. And imagine that first round matchup between LeBron and Zion. That's crazy.
That'd be fun.
I think LeBron would win it, but that's crazy. That's big tickets.
They have some really good talent. I think they could definitely do some damage. They could even beat. They might not upset like the Lakers. They could, but I don't see them doing it in a 7-game series. But I could see them upsetting like another team if they get that shot. I don't even know if they could get to that seed, but
yeah, same. And so, I guess my sleeper in the East isn't. You wouldn't necessarily call them a sleeper by where they're placed, but like the Raptors have just gone under the radar, man. And they've just somehow, with losing Kawhi, they lost DeMar DeRozan and traded him for Kawhi, then lost Kawhi after winning the championship. And somehow they still managed to get up there to the 2 seed in the East. You know what I mean? Like, how does that happen? Kyle Lowry's been playing good. Pascal Siakam is a monster. He's an all-star player. It's just a team to watch out for. They have the experience with Van Fleet and that good guard play between him and Kyle Lowry's defense, shooting. I like that team a lot as a sleeper. It's not everybody's pick. I think everybody is leaning more towards the Bucks and the Sixers and the Celtics, the Heat of the world. Not necessarily the Heat. They're more of a sleeper team as well. But just the Celtics, Bucks, and even the 76ers are highly regarded. But yeah, those are my two sleeper teams, man, and I guess that's gonna end it for the night. This was a great episode. I think we went an hour and a half, man.
Dang, seriously.
That's 2 for the price of 1, man.
Hey,
great episode.
Patience is a virtue.
Great guest, Darius on. Thank you for being on here, Will, man. You guys have anything else you want to say?
Me personally, just thank you for having me on. I love what you're doing. I think that this podcast has all the potential in the world. You're doing all the right things. You know what you're talking about. And, I'm just honored to come on. I look forward to coming on during the season. I know we can't go watch the games at the stadium, but I'll still come to Philly and watch some games together and get rowdy.
Darius, you killed it, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. So definitely have you back on multiple times during the actual season. Maybe we'll even do a special one right before the season starts. Brief everything. It was great having you on. Great show. Remember to subscribe and like this video on YouTube. Make sure go to Twitter, Instagram, follow us at ST Philly Sports 1. You can find me at Scotty Drown on Twitter and Instagram. You can find Willy at Willy Da Vinci, Darius.
You don't gotta worry about it.
Don't go find him. He's undercover, man.
Yo, my thing's
he's my special Eagles analyst.
Yes, sir. Yo,
what was that, Will?
My camera's about to die, my friend. I gotta bounce as well.
Oh yeah, we're good, man. Hey, Scotty out, man.
Yeah, baby. Woo!
Much love. Remember to subscribe and like it. All right, guys.
Hit like. Subscribe.
Subscribe. All right, guys.
Later, man.
Peace.